there, Rub-a-Dub subs, it's Blackmetalwerewolf making a brand new video for you this week. And I'm back to finally doing my metal videos. So this topic today, I've been wanting to do for quite some time. You see, a couple of years ago, I knew somebody who was just getting into heavy metal, and I had no problem suggesting bands to them and stuff like that. But the thing is, once they started getting into it, they refused to acknowledge that any of the bands they were listening to were heavy metal, which I thought was very, very strange. And that's why today I wanted to explore why are some people ashamed to listen to heavy metal. One of the things I love about heavy metal is the dedicated fan base. Obviously, a lot of metalheads are incredibly passionate about the music and wear their passion on their sleeve, including myself. But even the ones that aren't like over the moon passionate about it usually have no issue admitting that they like the music when asked about it. And if asked a bit more, they'll probably name off a few bands that they like. For most metalheads, it's not that big of a deal, it's just something that you really, really enjoy. Much like any sort of fandom. Be it punk music, anime, superhero movies, comics, everybody has something that they like and that they're passionate about. That's why I thought it was so incredibly strange that when I was getting this person to heavy metal, that they refused to acknowledge that any of the bands I showed them were indeed heavy metal. For example, I showed them two bands, Metallica and Blind Guardian. Now, regardless of what you think of those bands, you have to admit that they are indeed metal. But he just refused altogether that either of these bands were heavy metal. I said, you know, Blind Guardian is metal, and so is Metallica. Metallica was one of the starters of thrash metal. Everybody knows that. It's very basic. But he refused to admit it. He just said, no, they aren't. They're hard rock. And that really got my head scratching. Why was it so hard to get this person to fucking admit that these bands that he likes are heavy metal? It's not that he didn't like them. It's not that there's a big question mark around these bands. It's just he liked them, but he did not admit it. And it made me pull my goddamn hair out. Now I know I'm probably putting way too much thought into this, but I put the thought into it anyway. Ever since I met this person, I've been going over and over in my head all the ideas of why somebody would not admit to something that they like. Especially when it comes to heavy metal. So one of the reasons I always thought was because they feared what society would think of them. Now, I personally don't really give a fuck what society thinks of me, but a lot of people view that heavy metal, like the view that people have, that the view of heavy metal is that heavy metal heads are Satanists, delinquents, troublemakers, criminals, and the list goes on of all these negative things. But throughout my years of listening to heavy metal and being very open about it, I can't say I've ever openly gotten any form of discrimination against it. I've never went and applied for a job and have someone tell me that I can't have the job because I have long hair and a goatee. Or someone saying, you can't eat here because you listen to heavy metal. Sure, some people don't like the music, and I'm fine with that. It's not for everybody. But no point in my life have I ever had any sort of shortcome, any sort of discrimination or get the short end of the stick mainly because I like heavy metal. So it can't be because of that reason. Another reason this person might not have wanted to admit to liking heavy metal is fear of bullying. When I was showing them about heavy metal, we were in our high school years. In our high school, like many others, bullying was a very prevalent thing. And don't get me wrong, it's a very unpleasant thing to go through. I got bullied plenty when I was younger. But never in my years of getting bullied did I ever feel that I was getting bullied because I liked heavy metal. I felt like I was getting bullied because 1, I was a very easy target, and 2, these people just didn't like me. I always felt that no matter what I liked, these people were going to make fun of me. I was going to get called a fag if I liked heavy metal, going to get called a fag if I liked football, I was going to get called a fag no matter what I liked. These people didn't like me. That was just one thing that they could focus in on, and it would have been anything that I liked at the time. Now I can semi-see where they're coming from. They saw me getting bullied and I was a big heavy metal head, so maybe they thought if they admitted to it, they would get it too. So instead they would just admit that they liked hard rock music. That sounds better, and I guess is a bit more socially acceptable than saying you like heavy metal music. Another way I've thought of it is perhaps it was their guilty pleasure, but to me that doesn't necessarily make sense. Usually when you have a guilty pleasure, you don't tell anybody about it. You just kind of keep it to yourself. A secret little thing that you enjoy that you think that maybe people would look at you a little differently, but this person openly admitted to liking bands like Blind Guardian and Metallica. So it's not like he was keeping it a secret. He would tell people, he just wouldn't associate it with heavy metal. I always just thought that was weird, and it doesn't necessarily make sense when it comes to the guilty pleasure point of view. So overall, this whole liking heavy metal but refusing to acknowledge a thing is a pretty big head scratcher. I don't think society is that harsh that it will destroy your entire life if you just openly admit to liking a few heavy metal songs or a few heavy metal bands. You don't have to be a die-hard, long-haired, devil-worshipping heavy metalhead to enjoy some heavy metal songs. It's legitimately good music. Granted, it's not for everybody, but every now and then, hey, you hear a song you like, and you just like it. It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to fit into some box view of what you think society thinks of heavy metal heads. That's ridiculous. But I want to get your guys' opinion. Do you know anybody like this? And if so, what are your thoughts on the whole thing? And what are your thoughts on the whole thing in general? What do you think the reasons why someone would like heavy metal but refuse to acknowledge it? Leave me a comment. I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are on this whole thing. Now that I'm doing my heavy metal videos again, I can finally get back to doing my album recommendations. And today's recommendation is Avé by Venom Inc. I'm sure most of you have already listened to this and have formed an opinion on it, but if you haven't, I suggest checking it out. It's not quite what I expected when I picked it up, but I listened to it and I enjoyed it, and I think you guys will enjoy it too. So that's it for today's video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of today's video. Check out some of my past videos, and share it with a few of your friends while you're at it. If you want to keep up with me on a more daily basis, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a P.O. box open, so if you'd like to write me a letter, all that info is down in the description. I have some patches left, so if you'd like to get your very own logo patch, just click right over here. There's also a link in the description. Overall, thank you very much for watching, guys. And stay brutal.